Growing up as a kid in the early 80s, I'd spend my Saturday mornings in my Spider-Man pajamas with a bowl of one of my favorite sugary cereals, watching cartoons on our old tube TV. I'd fantasize about being strong like Mr. T or having superpowers as I watched my superheroes leap over buildings, lift cars with their bare hands, or save unsuspecting victims from tidal waves or crumbling buildings. Little did I know I was being groomed by my grandmother to have a superpower we all had access to. Candor, right? For the last 24 years, I facilitated education programs nationally and internationally to law enforcement agencies, school districts, nonprofits, and museums on a range of topics. Like a sharpening stone for a knife, I strengthened my communication skills weekly by slowly sliding my words and ego up against the stone of my audience's curiosity and resistance, gradually honing my ability to say the thing without damaging the relationships, or in some cases, their feelings. A few years ago, my friend Lindy and her boyfriend Giovanni came over for dinner. Gio was visiting from Melbourne, Australia, and I was excited to see him as him and I had become pretty close friends over the years. As they came into the house, I could see he was carrying a brown paper bag filled with some libation he was sure I would appreciate, and I was certain would go great with the pork tinga I was making for dinner. He had a big grin on his face as he set the bag down on the counter and said, "I got some beer for you, brother." That's my best Aussie El Salvadorian accent. Right? As I reached into the bag and pulled out the six-pack of beer, I saw the label, IPA, Indian Pale Ale. Now, any gift for anybody is always going to be met with a smile, a thank you, and usually a hug. And today was no different, except I hate IPAs. I despise them. They're bitter, hard to swallow, almost reminiscent of that flavored cough syrup we had to chug as kids when we were sick, right? Think cilantro for those that have an aversion, because for them, it tastes like soap. This was that for me. And so I said, thank you. And look, in the future, if you're going to bring me beer again, please don't bring me any IPAs. I don't like them, and I won't drink them. No sooner than the words left my mouth, I could see the looks from across the room, like I used to get from my grandmother when I said something that she didn't approve of. It was like I got caught at a bar when I said I'd be at Bible study. You know the look that only a loved one could give you? I immediately said, what? I was just being candid, right? Was I not supposed to say that? Gio was my boy. He apologized and said he didn't know. And I'm like, look, there's nothing to apologize for. I didn't want you wasting your money on something that I don't like and I wouldn't drink. I poured us some whiskey and we moved on. He did, but I didn't. You see, I was reminded that when we speak up and say the things that others don't think we should say, we risk our comfort, our confidence. We question ourselves. Was I wrong? Should I have kept that to myself? When is it okay to lean into the discomfort of the moment? Now, for the next 3 hours, which really was only like 20 minutes, I was in my feelings a little bit, right? I was defensive and I was defending my use of candor. Each of us learns early from our families and our communities how we should treat others. And yet still there's a disconnect between choosing to speak up about uncomfortable things and assuming how others might feel when we do so. My boy Gio is somebody who is likely always going to show up for us, right, in different ways. And so as kids, we know that there are things that we learn to distinguish when we should or shouldn't say certain things. My grandmother grew up in the house with my sister and I, offering daily doses of what we would later come to appreciate as candor. It wasn't destructive or mean. It just was what it was, a directness, a daily approach to say, our relationship means enough that you should know how I feel, period. What if our candor could turn the page, right? What if our candor could turn the page? could allow us to influence others for the betterment of them and us, could help us build strong relationships and even stronger communities. I actually think it could benefit our overall mental health. Each of us in here has been a part of conversations where somebody's asked you to do something or you're asked your opinion about something and you don't necessarily speak up. And later on, you might be processing with somebody and say, wow, I wanted to speak up, but, right? Or I really didn't want to go there, but. And it's in that but that we lose sight of our why. When I think about relationships, right, and how they unfold in different ways, I think it's important for us to consider how we, what we bring to the table and how we show up. Being brutally honest, right? Being brutally honest is not what candor is, right? It's actually quite the opposite. It's important for us to understand the difference because being candid isn't about being brutally honest. Right? There's a level of thoughtfulness that's needed when we're going to engage in candor, right? And I think that requires us to slow down. Our relationships, and I would say even those first interactions with strangers, right, AKA potential future friends, should be deserving of our candor. My grandmother, Felisa Buhay, from Cavite City in the Philippines, used candor daily with my sisters and I. She didn't have peppermints or butterscotch in her purse, just loosely packaged candor, like Sour Patch Kids, where once you got past the initial sting of the comment, there was a sweetness that awaited you below, right? Like only a grandmother could. And so in our house, I do most of the cooking, right? My family actually got me a plaque that says, "Would eat here again." 5 stars. I know when I'm only getting 1 or 2 stars when I watch my daughter mimic a windshield wiper with the food on her plate, shifting it back and forth. And I know eventually "I'm sorry, Daddy, I don't like this" is coming. I've never bothered or offended, actually quite the opposite. I welcome the use of candor. I think it's important that she voice her opinions early on so she gets in the habit of doing that. When she was 3 or 4 years old, I remember us going to the grocery store on a Saturday where they were sampling food, an event sure to lure a dad and his young daughter, like the music from an ice cream truck, or someone at a festival yelling, "Free beer!" Not IPAs, of course, right? And so as we walk up to the counter to see what they were serving up on those little cocktail napkins, a woman leans down to Amari and says, "You are so pretty and have such big, beautiful eyes." Now, we've heard that weekly since she was a baby, and we taught her to say thank you. Except today, the woman who spoke to her was missing the majority of her teeth, right? And so when she gave Amari the compliment, Amari looked up at her and said, "You don't have any teeth," right? Now, you can imagine what that would feel like if you were a parent in that situation, right? I'll let you sit with that for a moment, right? I leaned down and said to her, "Yeah, baby, not everybody has all of their teeth," right? We ate our freebies, continued our shopping, and kept it moving. At some point in our life, many of us are taught that it is unkind to share certain thoughts. And while I would typically agree, I think we apply that to more interactions than necessary, right? Closing ourselves off from authentic exchanges where we have an opportunity to strengthen trust, evolve relationships, and build community. And so when I think about this conversation of candor, I know some of you all might feel like this comes down to trust, right? And the relationship. It's easier to be candid with people who you're closer with, right? Most of us are taught that trust has to be earned. I give my trust freely to everybody, right? You have to lose my trust. And that allows me to forge relationships with people really quickly and more intimately, which I think is really important. And so I'd like for us to consider, what would it look like for you all if you gave your trust more freely, if you intentionally embodied candor? I think it could benefit all of our mental health overall.